What if I told you that your ability to control your attention is the single greatest predictor of your future happiness, success, and peace of mind? Think about it. In a world where your phone buzzes every 2 minutes, where notifications fight for your focus, where every app is designed to steal a piece of your mind, how much of your life do you truly own? The frightening truth is this: most people are not living, they are reacting. And what they call choice is often nothing more than a habit carved into their brain by endless dopamine spikes. But here's the hidden secret. If you can master discipline, if you can reclaim your attention, you are free in ways most people will never understand. The idea of dopamine detox has become a modern buzzword. People believe that if they shut off social media for a weekend, they've fixed themselves. But the truth runs deeper. It's not about turning off your phone for 48 hours. It's about reprogramming the way your mind interacts with reward. It's about re-educating your nervous system. And for that, Stoicism, the philosophy of ancient Rome, offers something extraordinary. Stoicism was never about suppressing emotions. It was about mastery. It was about recognizing the difference between what you can control and what you cannot. And today, that wisdom is the perfect antidote to dopamine addiction. Consider this. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world. Yet in his journals, he constantly reminded himself to remain calm, to control his impulses, to see pleasure as fleeting. Epictetus, born a slave, taught that freedom is not about chains or lack of them. It is about the mastery of one's mind. Seneca wrote that people are frugal with money but reckless with time, giving their minutes away to distractions without realizing that time is life itself. Isn't that exactly what we do with dopamine today? We hand over our attention for the cheap price of digital pleasure, not realizing that our focus is the currency of the soul. But here is where discipline enters the story. Dopamine is not evil. It is a messenger, a signal of reward. The problem is not dopamine. It is our relationship to it. Just as a Stoic does not fear external events, but rather his reaction to them, so too must we learn not to fear pleasure itself, but our dependence on it. Imagine your attention as a temple. Every notification, every scroll, every binge is graffiti on its walls. And unless you take charge, the temple collapses. But discipline, the quiet power of self-control, rebuilds it brick by brick. So what does this look like in practice? A dopamine detox is not about fleeing from the world. It's about training your mind to find satisfaction in simplicity. Instead of chasing constant novelty, you build resilience by sitting with boredom, by doing hard things without immediate rewards. Think about the Stoic practice of voluntary discomfort, sleeping on the floor, fasting, and exposing oneself to cold. Why? Not to suffer, but to build strength. To remind oneself that true contentment does not depend on luxury or stimulation. In the same way, resisting the endless pull of dopamine is not punishment. It is liberation. Let's take a deeper look. Why is your brain so addicted to stimulation in the first place? Neuroscience tells us that novelty and unpredictability are the strongest drivers of dopamine release. This is why scrolling social media feels addictive. You never know what the next post will be. It's a slot machine in your pocket. But the Stoics knew this centuries before neuroscience. They warned that chasing pleasures leads only to slavery, because you are no longer in command. You are commanded by what you chase. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If your phone controls you, if your habits dictate your day, can you honestly say you are free? Now picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and instead of immediately grabbing your phone, you sit in silence for 5 minutes. No noise, no stimulation, just your breath. At first, your brain rebels. It craves the quick fix. But slowly, the silence becomes powerful. That is discipline. You reclaim control not by removing dopamine from your life, but by rebalancing it, by teaching your mind that not every urge deserves action. This is where Stoicism and psychology merge. You train yourself to delay gratification, to embrace the discomfort of waiting, to discover that you don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. Here's the paradox. The less you chase pleasure, the more powerful real pleasure becomes. When you flood your brain with dopamine every second, joy becomes dull. Food tastes bland, conversations feel boring, and focus becomes impossible. But when you withdraw from the constant flood, your sensitivity returns. The Stoics understood this. They practiced simplicity so that they could fully appreciate even the smallest joys. Water tastes sweet when you're thirsty. Silence feels sacred when you've been drowning in noise. A single hour of deep focus is more rewarding than an entire day of distractions. Think of your mind like a garden. Dopamine is the rain that helps things grow. Too much rain and the garden floods. Nothing survives. Too little and the soil cracks. But discipline is the gardener, deciding when to water, when to wait, when to prune. Without the gardener, chaos rules. With the gardener, balance is restored. This is the heart of dopamine discipline. Not escape, not suppression, but balance. Stoicism teaches us that freedom lies in aligning with nature, in understanding that external things are not good or bad in themselves. It is our use of them that matters. So with dopamine, the question is not how do I avoid it, but how do I master it? And here lies the real challenge. Can you build the strength to delay gratification, to resist the impulse for immediate stimulation, and instead direct your attention where it truly matters? Can you live not as a prisoner of your urges, but as a ruler of your mind? The choice is yours. The tools are ancient. The wisdom is eternal. And the time to reclaim your attention is now. But here is where most people misunderstand dopamine detox. It's not about sitting in an empty room staring at a blank wall and refusing to touch technology for a week. That's unsustainable. What matters is consciously designing the kind of stimuli you allow into your life. It's not about zero stimulation. It's about choosing the right stimulation. Reading a book, walking in silence, journaling your thoughts. These are all forms of input, but they nourish you rather than deplete you. The goal is not to punish yourself. The goal is to regain authorship over your attention. When the Stoics faced temptations, they didn't run from life. They practiced moderation. Epictetus advised us to approach pleasure as if it were a guest at the table. Welcome it, but do not cling to it. Imagine if you treated your phone, your cravings, and your entertainment like that. Instead of being a master over you, they would simply pass through your life without dictating your actions. This is dopamine discipline in its purest form. Consider what happens when you reclaim your attention. Suddenly, the hours you used to waste scrolling become hours invested in deep work. The restless energy that used to push you toward another hit of stimulation is channeled into focus. You start reading more, thinking more clearly, and experiencing the world with sharpness rather than fog. It's not just that you're avoiding distractions, it's that you're rediscovering what undistracted life feels like. Most people haven't tasted that in years. The transformation begins small. 1 hour without your phone in the morning. 1 day per week without social media. These are not acts of deprivation. They are acts of freedom. Every time you resist the pull of shallow stimulation, you are sending a message to your brain. I am in control. This is what the Stoics called training the soul, disciplining the self. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he would be tempted, annoyed, and distracted. Yet he wrote in his meditations as a reminder, I can return to clarity whenever I choose. Now think about your own life. How often do you surrender to impulses without realizing it? That glance at your notifications, that restless check of your email, that urge to fill silence with noise. Each of these is a micro-decision shaping the architecture of your mind. The discipline of dopamine is about reversing this flow. Instead of being led by impulse, you guide your impulses. Instead of chasing every shiny distraction, you decide what is worthy of your energy. And when you fail, and you will, you return with patience. The Stoics knew failure wasn't weakness. It was part of the path of mastery. There's also a deeper spiritual layer to all of this. Every time you reclaim your attention, you are reconnecting with the present moment. You are no longer scattering your energy outward into endless consumption. You are drawing it inward, toward clarity, toward meaning. The ancient philosophers understood that freedom is not just external, it's internal. What uses it to live in a free society if your mind is enslaved to impulses? True sovereignty is self-mastery, and dopamine discipline is one of the most practical doorways into that sovereignty. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not reaching for your phone first thing. Imagine sitting with your coffee in silence, watching the light shift through your window. Imagine walking without headphones, allowing your thoughts to settle, hearing the rhythm of your own breath. These moments may seem small, but they are revolutionary. They are rebellions against a culture designed to fracture your attention. They are acts of remembering that your life is more than just endless scrolling, endless chasing, and endless stimulation. They are acts of remembering that you are here, alive, conscious. And this is where Stoicism gives us hope. It tells us that no matter how distracted we have been, no matter how addicted to stimulation, no matter how scattered our focus, we can begin again. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a form of love. Love for your future self. Love for the clarity you deserve. Love for the peace that waits behind the noise. The philosophers didn't have smartphones, but they wrestled with the same inner restlessness, the same pull of desire. And their wisdom endures because it speaks to the human condition that never changes. So, the question is not whether dopamine detox works. The question is whether you are willing to reclaim your attention with discipline, patience, and courage. The world will never stop throwing distractions at you, but you can stop taking the bait. You can decide, here and now, to live with focus, intention, and sovereignty. You can train your mind to value depth over speed, clarity over noise, discipline over impulse. And in doing so, you may just discover the stillness you've been searching for all along. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever tried a dopamine detox? And if so, what was your experience? Did you feel calmer, or did the silence feel unbearable? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to know how this journey has unfolded for you. And if this video gave you a glimpse of something worth practicing, remember this: your attention is your life. Guard it fiercely. Choose wisely where you place it. Discipline your impulses not because you want less life, but because you want more of it. The Stoics knew this. And now, so do you. If you found this message valuable, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more reflections on psychology, philosophy, and self-mastery. Your future self will thank you.